I have the feeling that this vlog is very art heavy, depending on how much of what I drew I will put into the video. I'm also thinking about making this whole little project that I'm going to tell you about in a minute, that I will make an exclusive Patreon video out of it. I'm going to start the little sketchbook experiment. I saw a video of the creator Lee Schatz last weekend, and it really inspired me to try an 8-hour sketchbook project. So here we are. Okay, to clear things up right away, I'm not going to sketch for 8 hours straight. Let me explain the rules real quick. Every full hour, I'll sit down and sketch for 30 minutes. I planned out the theme / body of references for each hour already, so that I don't have to scramble my materials in a hurry. I'm trying to fill a page of my A4 sketchbook, but I won't force myself to. However, I'm going to force myself to draw for the full 30 minutes. After those are up, I get a 30-minute resting period. And this is the fun and probably also the challenging part. I have to make these breaks as boring as possible. No scrolling, no screens, just being. The goal is to get excited to sit down and finally do something again when the next full hour starts. Good. Now we are set. Let me show you the supplies. As I said, I'll be drawing in my A4 sketchbook. And these are the pens I'm going to use. A funny gel pen, which, spoiler alert, didn't work very well for sketching. My favorite combo of colored pencils at the moment, neon pink and aquamarine blue. A mechanical graphite pencil and some water-based markers. I set up alarms for every resting period and every time I'm about to sit down and sketch again. And I give myself like 3 minutes for preparation before I start sketching, like to set up the camera and stuff. So gonna go to the toilet one last time and then I'm gonna hit this off. I started at 9 o'clock with hour 1 and just copied Lee Schatz's idea of drawing from memory for the first 30 minutes. I thought it to be a good practice to loosen up and just doodle. When I don't know what to draw, I fall back onto my OCs, specifically Ned. I'm very proud of this. Let me explain why. It has been my dream for a long time to get good at drawing people. I've always been envious of artists who had OCs, which looked cool and were recognizable in every drawing. I started practicing anatomy, figure drawing and portrait drawing for the sole reason to one day create my own characters. As you all know, I finally did that in 2023. I haven't been drawing Ned for a whole year yet, but he still became my drawing comfort zone nonetheless. That's where the pride comes in. A few years ago, I was dreaming of this, wanting so bad to have this default mode as an artist and not the feeling that every time I sat down and drew, I have to pull my artistic muscle. I could say that I have that same feeling with drawing animals or botanicals, but I never had to work hard for those. Nature drawings always came easy to me, but people? No. So I'm glad I can say that I'm now at a point where I fall back on drawing Ned whenever I don't know what to draw. Does he always look like himself? No, but I'm getting there. In these first 30 minutes, I realized 2 things rather quickly. First, that this stupid gel pen is shit for drawing, and second, that 30 minutes are a lot of time when you don't have a particular thing to draw. After butchering Ned's beautiful face in my first 2 sketches, I went on and drew some low-quality versions of him with different expressions, like those you find in manga, anime and such. I wanted to do these for a while, and it was really fun to come up with as many as possible in the time I had left. In my first break, I didn't do much, as I announced in the beginning. The first few minutes, I took a picture of my sketches and posted it to my Instagram story and X thread. Then I simply lay down and stared at my bookshelf. In hour 2, I used my slam dunk art book for reference. It's the one that came out in 2020 and it has the coolest pieces in it. Lots of sketches and full color pages which give you a nostalgic kick for the 90s in the best possible way. I'm really admiring Takehiko Sensei's work because for me it is the perfect balance between manga and realism. Oftentimes, people who see my art and don't have much to do with character design say that my art looks like these Japanese cartoons. Yes, they do, because I'm very much inspired by manga and anime. However, it is not my goal to be a mangaka. I like to develop my own style, and therefore I'm looking up to people of who I think I can learn from. Takehiko Sensei is one of those people. I love that the pieces are all drawn traditionally and that the characters look like real people instead of overly stylized figures. The dynamic in the lines and the facial expressions are something I want to be able to do myself one day. I sketched with graphite this time to switch it up a bit, and I chose very versatile references. However, I only drew Sakuragi here. My favorite sketch of this page is the little chibi version of him because that one truly shows his mischievous personality. As you just saw, I spent another break staring at the ceiling. Before I drew Ned again in hour 3, this time with references from Pinterest. I have a pin board for my OCs with folders for each of them and extra folders for ideas I want to draw in the future. So there are collections of references for Ned, obviously, Danny, Elmer and his cat Inga, and Morgan. Additional folders include a Frank and Melanie one, those are Ned and Danny's parents if you didn't know, a Ned and Danny one with pictures of age-gap siblings, a Ned and Morgan folder because, you know, they're really good friends, and a last one called Ned and Anders, which I won't explain further as for now. There might be another OC coming, but I don't know when yet. So yeah, I picked a reference and Nedified it in a sketch. I like to mix full body images with portraits and always try to put him in different clothes, angles, and situations. Here I specifically drew him in an outfit he would wear to a party. A loose-fitting button-up shirt with black jeans and his hair down. I think in his side profile he looks rather young. I mean, he doesn't look 31. Maybe that's from when he was in his early 20s. And the last sketch is him sitting on the edge of a pool with his swimming cap still on. I never drew him with it on before, so there, I learned something new. I also realized that this particular day wasn't my best sketching day. They all looked good, but it felt all rather forced. In hour 4, I referenced another one of my precious art books from another artist I very much look up to. I bet my left hand that every one of you knows Hayao Miyazaki, or if not his name, at least his animation studio Ghibli. I own the Art of Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away art book, and I love flipping through them for inspiration. Ghibli films have been my companion since my early teenage years. The first film I ever saw was Spirited Away, and when I discovered illegal streaming websites, I watched all the other films one by one. I can't say which is my favorite though. I like the fantastical stories as much as the slice of life ones, but if I was forced to pick one of each, I'd say House Moving Castle and From Up on Poppy Hill. I love that with every rewatch I can discover something new, be it in the actual animation or the subtext of the stories. They are a great source of comfort. I picked the Howl's Moving Castle art book not because it's my favorite film, but I wanted to draw Howl in particular. I have drawn him only once before, but that was in a not safe for work context, so yeah. I flipped through the pages and went with the kissing scene, one in which he looks mad, you know, when he accidentally dyed his hair orange, one when he concentrated on his magic, and at last I drew young Sophie. Did you know that the film is loosely based off of a fantasy book from the 80s? I'm sure you do. Well, it's actually a trilogy by Diane Wynne Jones, and I read all 3 of them and enjoyed them greatly. I highly recommend reading them, however, be cautious. The film does not really have much to do with the book. Book Sophie and Film Sophie have very little in common. In a good way though. With our 4 in the books, I was halfway through with this experiment. So while I sketch from Pinterest references again, this time Danny, let me give you an interim conclusion. Despite being tired and my body aching, I had a surprisingly easy time with this whole spiel. My physical condition wasn't the result of this project. My health had been in the depths since my tattoo appointment in early April, so I will separate that from the experience. I'm pretty disciplined. If I set myself the goal to do something, I most often achieve it. If, and that's a big one, if I'm the only factor that can lead to failure. Do I make sense? Well, this experiment could only fail if I myself did fail. There were no outside factors to ruin it. Projects like this aren't always easy, but I know that I can do it for sure. However, I thought I would struggle more, especially with the breaks. As of lately, I'm really much addicted to my phone. I go through phases with it, but it's bad lately. So I thought it would be difficult to stay away from scrolling during the breaks. It wasn't though, and I can't even tell you why. Additionally, my breaks never were the full 30 minutes long. As I said earlier, the first 5 minutes went to updating Instagram and X. Then I carried the camera around to film myself and then positioned it again before I started sketching. That takes time away from the intentional boredom, and I effectively only rested for like 15 to 20 minutes. So, not much time to get actually bored. In hour 6, I did classic hand studies. I practiced drawing and painting hands a lot even before I started drawing people, so I'm rather good at it. However, it's never a waste of time to practice even the stuff that feels easy, because someday it doesn't anymore if you don't keep it up. Yeah, and also, drawing hands is kinda brainless for me. I figured that towards the end of this experiment, I'd rather like to draw stuff that's easy for me instead of forcing myself to actually learn something new. Which brings me to the actual why of this whole project. Wow, I just realized that I didn't tell you my reasons for this ever. Sorry. Yeah, so I felt like that all my sketching lately had the purpose to become a finished piece. I didn't sketch for the sake of sketching or learning, and that annoyed me. If you don't loosen up in between, you get stiff. And I got frozen level stiff. I needed to melt again. So, yeah, that's the reason. Guck mal, wer mich gestört hat.
Ich bin's. Die beste Schwester von allen. Mit nem Pony. Und nem Undercut.
Nur noch 2 Stunden.
Ist das anstrengend?
Geht eigentlich. Hour 7 was dedicated to nature drawings, another theme I'm very comfortable with. Only the limited color palette was a little challenging. Also, this was the first and only time the 30 minutes felt too short and I had to rush the last sketch. Okay, hour 8. The last hour and time for a conclusion, right? I drew a cat, by the way. My OC Elmer's cat, Inga. Well, to be honest, I was really underwhelmed at the end of this. I had hoped for a transcendent experience, a level up, so to say, in my art game. But no. Don't get me wrong, I like challenging myself, but it didn't feel super hard. And isn't it sad that it only feels like accomplishment if something feels hard to get to? Anyways, I still learned stuff, or rather got things confirmed I already kinda knew about myself. I'm not one for the so-called Pomodoro method, a concept to boost your productivity through splitting your day in short segments interrupted by short pauses. I think the official thing says 25 minutes of working and then 5 minutes of rest or so. I don't work like that. I rather get lost in a task for hours, get into a flow and finish it in one go, rather than interrupting myself every 30 minutes. So in the end, I drew a lot for 4 hours. I filled 8 pages in my sketchbook. I did what I set out to do, sketching without having a finished piece for a goal. I can use some of the sketches, but I don't have to, so that's nice. I also lay around a whole lot, without a spiritual awakening though. Would I do it again? Yeah, totally. But next time I won't document it so that I get my full 30 minutes of rest and hopefully then I get really bored. Okay, that's it. That's the conclusion. I'll end the video here. It's way too long already, but I hope you enjoyed nevertheless. Have a nice week and see you next Monday with some mini portraits of Danny. Bye!